I'm going to be a doctor. Alicia dropped the bomb. The prince looked at her like she had grown a second head, pure disbelief. She used to be the empress, the supreme ruler, but her crimes were so heinous, the king himself sentenced her to burn at the stake. Her royal blood and killer looks fueled her ego, but they also fueled the fire that ended her life. After the execution, her entire family was dragged into the mud, suffering total ruin. Then, boom, she respawned in the modern world as a doctor. She kept all her memories, determined to scrub the red from her ledger by saving lives instead of taking them. But destiny is a troll. Mid-flight, her plane hit turbulence that turned into a death spiral. Alicia was trapped in that metal coffin, seething with frustration. She was the youngest medical prodigy, a surgical god. She had cheated death for countless patients. Was this really how she checked out? Her villainous era flashed before her eyes. Why was I such a monster? This was cosmic payback. Visions of her ruined family shattered her heart, and tears streamed down her face as gravity took hold. The cabin violently shuddered. Lights out. She squeezed her eyes shut, screaming internally, I don't want to die. That sheer desperation punched a hole in time, dragging her back to her sweet 16 in her original life. Same old room, same younger hands. She sat there totally disassociated, glitching out for a long minute. A maid slid in with a tray. "Milady, breakfast is served." Milady? You sick. You look ghost white. Right. In this timeline, I'm Alicia the Terrible. Everyone is terrified of me. Seeing the poor girl shaking like a leaf triggered the memories. I really was a nightmare boss. Round 3. Time to ditch the Wicked Witch brand. This isn't a respawn she can waste. It feels weird, but she is locking this in. The toxic, bratty Alicia. She is dead and buried. Mary the maid mentioned her grounding ended today. Alicia had zero clue what crime she had committed this time. Honestly, bless the lockdown. It gave her a beat to download her situation and process the trauma. Then Mary dropped the info. Family dinner tonight. Alicia's stomach did a backflip. 2 lifetimes later, she was finally facing them. She froze right outside the banquet hall doors. Emotional whiplash hit her hard, crushing guilt mixed with the desperate need to see their faces. 30 years of missing them fueled her courage. She pushed the doors open. Dad, stepmom, siblings. The dam broke. She was sobbing uncontrollably. The family. Total confusion. What is happening? Did solitary confinement break her brain? Her brother Gray immediately snapped at Dad. She messed up, sure, but 10 days in the cooler. That is brutal. Grace pulled her sister into a soft hug. This warmth. Alicia clenched her fists. Grace, I swear I won't ruin us this time. Even the stepmom jumped in, roasting the father for being too harsh on the girl. The patriarch actually looked guilty. He mumbled a quick apology to Alicia, clearly embarrassed. Alicia wiped her tears, beaming. I love you guys. The room went dead silent. Is she possessed? Alicia dropped into a deep bow, apologizing for every bratty thing she had ever done. This new personality uncharted territory. Her dad looked like he had seen a ghost. Who is this kid? Post-rebirth Alicia was a whole new operating system. The spoiled tyrant was gone. She was literally doing dishes herself. Mary nearly fainted. Is this really the young miss? But that face card never declines. Only Alicia could look that stunning while scrubbing plates. She went on an apology tour, found out Han's mom was sick. Boom, treatment paid for. Heard Melly was expecting. Alicia showed up personally, with a baby shower's worth of gifts. Hand-delivered meds to Junie too. Mary was convinced a literal angel had hijacked Alicia's body. Please don't let the demon come back. Alicia was grinding away at her desk until past 10 at night. She marched to her dad's office with a special brew of cold tea. The Duke stared at the cup like it was an alien artifact. His daughter, making him tea. In this economy, unheard of. His reaction triggered a flashback. In her doctor life, she was a lone wolf. No parents, zero support system. While other kids played, she buried her face in books to drown out the loneliness. She never got to be a good daughter back then. But this timeline, this is her redemption run. She had to nail this performance. Alicia checked her dad's reaction to the tea. The man was practically glowing, radiating golden retriever energy. He was raving about it, swearing that not even the Imperial Palace brew hit this hard. Then came the million-dollar question. How'd you make this? Alicia froze. This wasn't just tea. It was a skill she grinded for in her first wretched life. A trick she mastered solely to thirst-trap the prince. But looking at her dad's innocent face, yeah, she couldn't exactly drop that truth bomb. So she mumbled some vague excuse and dipped. Left alone, her dad took another sip, savoring the flavor. His mind raced. Alicia wasn't just different. She was like a completely new update of her former self. It was kinda unsettling, honestly, but holding this cup, it felt more valuable than a mountain of gold or silver. The old Alicia wouldn't be brewing tea. She'd be brewing trouble. A total chaos demon, basically. Back in her room, Alicia grabbed her quill. Game time. She had exactly 10 years until the stake and the flames claimed her again. She needed a timeline. Goal. Rewrite the tragedy. First domino. Her brother Crin's second expedition. Grace gets killed. Then her stepmom falls to sickness. Big brother Ryan executed for trying to protect her. The expedition wasn't just a war. It was a slaughterhouse caused by some mystery contagion wiping out the troops. Even the emperor catches it and dies. Post-war, it gets worse. A massive smallpox outbreak sweeps the nation. 70,000 dead bodies. Just thinking about that body count made Alicia break out in a cold sweat. The medical tech here, ancient. One bug could topple an empire. But wait, she wasn't just a noble lady. She was a surgeon in her past life. Her skills had limits, sure, but she wasn't helpless. She needed to sit her dad down and talk strategy. Fix the crises first, then get back to the OR. That was the dream. In this timeline, she was going to be a healer. Saving lives was the end game. But then reality snapped back. She was forgetting one massive looming problem. The engagement. She was scheduled to get hitched to Prince Link. That specific ring on her finger was the catalyst that turned her into the Wicked Empress the first time around. Ground zero for every tragedy. So what's the play this time? The clock was ticking down to the announcement. 2 months. That is all she had before the birthday banquet made it official. Every nightmare started at that party. Alicia rubbed her temples, a migraine brewing. Her stepmom immediately clocked the mood shift. Alicia, honey, not hungry. She shook her head. No, it's not that, mother. You know, lately you've been calling me mother. It made me so happy the first time. But today, you look wrecked. You haven't even touched your strawberry cake. Spill it, what's wrong? The question turned the dinner table into an interrogation room. Dad and her brothers locked eyes on her. They sensed the vibe shift. No point hiding it now. Alicia decided to drop the bomb. Dad, it's about the birthday banquet. Her father blinked, surprised. Oh, you're worried about the party, he grinned. He thought he was comforting her. Relax, I already spoke to His Majesty. We're announcing your engagement to the prince, right there on stage. Talk about backfiring. Hearing it was a done deal made Alicia want to hurl. Suddenly, Ryan broke his silence, and he wasn't having it. He was dead set against this marriage. To put it bluntly, he didn't think Alicia had the chops to be empress. The guy just got back from duty. He missed the software update. In his head, Alicia was still the bratty, tyrannical nightmare she used to be. So he roasted her zero filter. That didn't sit well with Dad, who immediately started chewing him out. Grace was sweating bullets. He braced himself, expecting Alicia to flip the table and scream. He peeked at her, ready for the fireworks. But Alicia was just sitting there, smiling. Zero rage. Grace rubbed his eyes. Was he hallucinating? Ryan was being a jerk, and the old Alicia would have lost it. He's right, though, Alicia thought. I'm not Empress material. I need to sabotage this. I have to kill this engagement. Honestly, the prince is just as much a victim here as I am. I deserve my messy fate, but he's innocent. While she was deep in thought, her brothers started bickering. Bro, you just got back, Grace argued. Why are you being so harsh? Ryan shrugged. I'm just spitting facts. Our sister has been great lately, Ryan scoffed. Great, Alicia, I watched her grow up. If she changed overnight, then the sun must be rising in the west. Grace tried to defend her, but Ryan cut him off. He had to get back to the barracks. Seeing is believing. Grace realized Ryan wouldn't buy the new Alicia narrative until he saw the receipts himself. As Grace walked Ryan to the door, the tension was thick. She hit him with the big question, when are you coming back? His answer was vague enough to be terrifying. He honestly didn't know. He might be ghosting them for a long time. She pressed him, praying the Knights wouldn't get dragged into the Kryn expedition. Ryan tried to downplay it, claiming the Second Army would take the first wave of heat. But there was a catch. If the Fransu Republic jumped into the war, it was game over. The Royal Knights would have to suit up and march into hell. Ryan turned serious, telling Grace to hold down the fort. Protect the family, he warned. And whatever you do, don't drag Dad's name through the mud. You're so annoying, she snapped back, masking her fear. Just watch your back out there. Swords don't care who they kill, despite their earlier dinner table beef. It was obvious these siblings were ride or die. Meanwhile, Alicia went into total lockdown, barricading herself in her room for days. She was spiraling hard. The birthday banquet was less than 2 months away, and the clock was ticking louder every second. She was desperate to nuke this engagement, but she had zero clue how to pull it off without destroying her reputation. Irony was slapping her in the face. A year ago, she'd been simping so hard for Link after falling in love at first sight that she basically forced this ring onto her own finger. Now she couldn't just say, oops, changed my mind. Mary sensed the toxic vibes immediately and slid into the room with a pot of red tea to calm the nerves. Even though Mary was clueless about the drama, she went full emotional support mode, assuring Alicia that everything was going to be okay. That hit the spot. Alicia cracked a genuine smile, standing up to give Mary a gentle head pat. Look at you, she thought. Our little Mary is all grown up. Thanks, Mary. I needed that. Mary blushed and bowed out. I'll take my leave then. Good night, miss. Good night. But as soon as the door clicked shut, the anxiety returned. No matter how much she brainstormed, there was only one play left: march straight to the Emperor and beg for forgiveness personally. Meeting the big boss required a power outfit, but when she called Mary for help, the maid looked totally confused. Why hadn't Alicia ordered a new dress? The old Alicia was a total shopaholic who lived for unveiling new drip. Alicia felt a pang of cringe. She wasn't that superficial girl anymore. Wearing a gown once and trashing it, that was insanely wasteful and extravagant. I'll wear something I already own, she decided. But when she threw open the closet doors, her jaw practically hit the floor. She knew her past self loved shopping, but this was next-level hoarding. It wasn't a closet. It was a whole department store. Mary started pulling dresses in every color of the rainbow, creating an impromptu fashion show. One by one, Alicia shot them down. They were all too extra, too loud, or just plain not the vibe she needed for a serious royal meeting. An hour later, there was a literal mountain of fabric on the floor, and poor Mary collapsed next to it, completely gassed. Sorry, Alicia winced. In her past life as a doctor, she was married to the grind. Fashion wasn't exactly a priority when you're saving lives in scrubs. Then she spotted it. A simple white dress buried in the chaos. That's the one, Mary. I'm wearing that. Mary looked skeptical. Are you sure, miss? You're gorgeous. You should be flexing in something more luxurious. Dress secured. Now for the face card. Alicia sat down and gave Mary specific instructions. Keep it natural. She opted for the clean girl aesthetic, adding just a simple brooch and necklace to finish the fit. When she stepped back, Mary had to eat her words. Alicia didn't just look good. She looked absolutely ethereal. It wasn't flashy, but it screamed elegance. This understated style was exactly what Alicia needed. Suddenly, her dad walked through the door. He took one look at his daughter's transformation and completely froze. The man was speechless. Alicia and her father pulled up to the palace gates in their carriage. For Alicia, stepping back onto these grounds after 30 years felt surreal. The déjà vu hit her like a truck. She zoned out, staring at the scenery. She had spent 6 years ruling this place as Empress in her previous timeline. Back then, she thought she was the main character of the universe. Now she just prayed this conversation with the Emperor wouldn't end in disaster. Noticing his daughter spacing out, her dad panicked. He thought the pressure was making her sick. Hey, if you're feeling off, tell me, he urged. Don't push yourself. Alicia looked at him with serious eyes. Dad, if I cause a huge scene today, will you be mad at me? What he frowned. Are you hiding something? Spill it. We'll fix it together. Alicia shook her head. I haven't done anything. Yet. I'm just asking. Even if the Emperor goes full rage mode, she had to break this curse. Sorry, Dad, she thought. I'm about to blow everything up. They finally entered the palace, only to find out the Emperor had been waiting a long time. Not a great start. The heavy doors to the rose garden swung open, and immediately the intense scent of blooming flowers hit them. Alicia immediately dropped into a flawless curtsy upon seeing the Emperor. He waved his hand, telling her to chill with the formalities. After some polite small talk, his surprisingly chill vibe helped Alicia's heart stop racing at 1,000,000 miles an hour. But seeing him also dragged her right back down memory lane to her first life. Before he died in that timeline, he had begged Alicia to be a strong, just empress. But in the end, she had totally flopped on that promise. And now, here she was standing before him with the audacity to demand a breakup. The guilt was eating her alive. In the past, this man had been taken out by a brutal illness, and she couldn't forget that. Time check. By my calculations, the sickness should have kicked in by now. Alicia scanned His Majesty's face. Sure, that smile was warm. But the exhaustion etched between his brows. Dead giveaway. What's the diagnosis this time? Back in the original timeline, the Imperial doctors just shrugged and blamed poor circulation. Classic, useless diagnosis. But when the attack hit, and His Majesty slipped into that coma, he reeked of ketones. Heavy, rapid breathing. All the red flags pointed straight to acidosis. Putting the pieces together from my past life's medical experience, I knew I was right. But to nail the exact cause, I still needed more clues. The stakes, massive. If I cure the Emperor, the Third Prince's rebellion never happens. Checkmate. Without realizing it, the Emperor was studying me, clearly impressed by how much more regal I'd become. Getting sized up like that, honestly kind of embarrassing. And then right on cue, my dad decided to be that parent. He started yapping nonstop to the Emperor about my recent glow-up. When he dropped the fact that I brew him tea every single day, even the Emperor raised an eyebrow. He's watched me grow up, so seeing this sudden, dutiful daughter act sparked his curiosity. I'd love a taste, he insisted. Great. Can't exactly say no to the ruler of the nation, so I had to step up. I signaled the maids to bring the supplies. I knew His Majesty was obsessed with imports from the Indolest Empire. But here's the tea. Literally same leaves. But mess up the water temp or the ratio, you get a totally different vibe. After presenting the perfect cup to the Emperor, I stepped back, waiting in silence. The tension was real. He took a sip, and his face lit up. That smile screamed approval. This depth. It's just like the brew I had from the Indolest envoy, he marveled. Seriously impressive. When did you master this art? My palace staff needs a masterclass from you, as soon as possible. My dad beamed, bragging about how I picked it up in secret. One sip and my exhaustion is gone, the emperor laughed. You're a lucky man, Marquis. Drinking this liquid gold every day, I'm officially jealous. My skills are still basic, I deflected. But he wasn't having it. Modest, aren't we? Well, once you marry into the family and move into the palace, I'm expecting this service daily. Actually, this deserves a reward, he announced, leaning in. Name your price, Alicia. We adore you, and you're practically family already. Panic spiked in my chest. This was it. I had to drop the bomb before it was too late. Your Majesty, I started, voice steady. I actually do have a request. Just then, footsteps echoed behind me. My hands balled into fists instantly. I knew that voice. Prince Link. My soon-to-be fiancé. I curtsied, but he just iced me out. I used to be obsessed with that ice prince aesthetic, that frozen stare, those god-tier visuals, that indifferent tone. I was down bad, but wow, was I delusional. Seeing him now just unlocked the trauma. I literally mastered the art of tea just to impress him, and he didn't give a single damn. He didn't just ignore me. He told me straight to my face. He only tolerated me because of my father. The audacity. Why was I never good enough? That heartbreak turned into pure, unadulterated rage back then. I remember smashing that tea set, swearing I'd make him regret ignoring me. Snapping back to reality, I let out a tiny sigh. God, I was cringe back then. Standing in front of him now, zero butterflies. I mean, mentally, I've got 30 years on this kid. The Emperor cut the tension, scolding Link for being late. Link's excuse, issues with the Kryn expedition. The room temperature dropped. The mention of Kryn made the Emperor go grim. Since our people had been slaughtered by the Kryn forces, war wasn't an option anymore. It was a necessity. The kingdom was mobilizing 50,000 troops to crush them. It's really happening. Back then, I was too self-absorbed to care, but I remember the headlines. Total failure. Massive casualties. That war is what killed Grace. As I started spiraling about the upcoming bloodbath, the Emperor noticed my silence. He worried I felt left out. I flashed a practiced smile. Not at all. Since we're on the topic, he pivoted. What's your take on the expedition, Alicia? I froze. I know the script. Do I dare say it? If I drop the truth bomb now, their heads are gonna explode. Even if it made her look suspicious, the gruesome image of Grace dying on the battlefield wouldn't leave her head. Alicia steeled herself. She had to spill the tea. It was the only way to keep everyone breathing. Alicia dropped the bomb. There are two major red flags in this war. First up, the kingdom of Moncel in the east. The Emperor looked totally lost. Why sweat Moncel instead of the French Republic? Geographically, those guys had zero business getting messy in the Kryn Peninsula War. Then Alicia dropped a truth bomb that stunned the room. Moncel's current king is a total fraud. He needs validation from his overlords to look legit. Specifically, the French Republic. They're likely in cahoots, planning to flank our troops and stab us in the back. The pieces clicked for His Majesty. It made perfect sense. A blind spot he'd completely missed. But Prince Link wasn't buying it, shooting her a look of pure skepticism. Even if Moncel sends dudes, he argued, we're talking 20,000 max. To him, those numbers were a joke, compared to their massive 50,000-strong expedition force. On paper, Link had a point. In a straight-up one-versus-one brawl, no kingdom could touch their army. But battles aren't always fought face-to-face. The Ukra mountain range is the only choke point for our 50,000 troops to enter the Kryn Peninsula. Moncel will likely take a shortcut and seize the high ground. If they lock down those mountains, Alicia warned, our supply lines get severed. Once the food runs out, it doesn't matter how buff our army is. They'll be sitting ducks. A literal chill ran down the Emperor's spine. My future daughter-in-law is spitting facts. He immediately snapped his fingers, ordering a maid to summon the Prime Minister. They needed to pivot their strategy stat. Watching the chaos ensue, His Majesty couldn't believe a young girl had this level of 4D chess in her brain. He had severely underestimated her. In that moment, the Emperor's view of Alicia shifted permanently. But this newfound respect was a double-edged sword. How could he let her break the engagement now? A girl with this kind of tactical genius, the Emperor was practically fanboying over her military insight. But the ambush was just the appetizer. What was the second disaster waiting to happen? Local epidemics, Alicia stated flatly. Her past life memories haunted her the entire expedition force, getting wiped out by a plague. She didn't know the specific pathogen, but they had to prep for the worst. The Kryn Peninsula was basically a death trap. Scorching heat mixed with insane humidity. By the time the troops arrived, it'd be peak bacterial breeding season, making the infection rate skyrocket. It was a biological ticking time bomb. The fix, Alicia proposed stockpiling meds, but dropped a bigger knowledge bomb. Personal hygiene. In this era, sanitation was basically non-existent. Scrubbing up is the only way to stop the virus from going viral. Hearing this, His Majesty grinned like a proud dad. Impressive, Alicia. Where'd you pick up this intel? I've been into medicine lately, She lied smoothly. Read a few books. Just basic stuff. Yeah, right. Basic. The Emperor's skepticism made Alicia freeze. Did I show my hand too much? But if it meant lower casualties, and saving her brother from a grim fate being suspicious was a price she'd pay. The Emperor stroked his chin, promising to weigh her advice. If this intel saves us, the Puria Medal of Honor is yours. Alicia's jaw dropped. That medal was the Empire's MVP award. She just tossed out some common-sense opinions. She didn't deserve that kind of clout. But the Emperor insisted if she prevented a tragedy, a shiny medal was the least he could do. Alicia realized then that His Majesty was actually a legit wise ruler. She then pulled out a gift, aromatic candles from the Empire meant to soothe stress, hoping to score some points. The Emperor accepted it warmly. This is perfect. I've been feeling totally drained lately. Just the scent clears my head. Weak and tired Alicia scanned his face, noticing the deep exhaustion. Wait, could it be that disease? She rattled off a list of symptoms. Every single one was a match. Alicia never guessed His Majesty's mystery illness was just straight-up diabetes, but without insulin or treatment, and with his sugar spiking. Left unchecked, it spirals into acidosis, a death sentence in a world stuck with medieval healthcare. But Alicia didn't drop the diabetes bomb. She played it safe, claiming she just read some obscure texts. Sure, the body craves sugar, but when those levels spike, boom, you get the exact nightmare symptoms plaguing His Majesty. That hooked the Emperor immediately. He nodded, realizing he needed a serious sit-down with his top healer, Viscount Ben. Knowing a pro like Ben was on it, Alicia finally exhaled. Crisis averted. The doomed war, cancelled. The Emperor's health, check. Now for the boss battle, nuking her engagement to Prince Link. The old Alicia, she was desperate for that crown. Being a princess was her entire personality. But this is Alicia 2.0. With a second shot at life, she wanted to torch that toxic obsession and dance on the ashes. She looked the Emperor dead in the eye. Your Majesty, I'm begging you. Call off my wedding to Prince Link. The room went dead silent. Jaws dropped. And her dad, he looked ready to explode. He started tearing into her, calling her a reckless brat. But the Emperor held up a hand, silencing him. He wanted the tea straight from Alicia. Alicia dropped to her knees, forehead to the floor. She apologized for the disrespect, but her resolve was absolute steel. His Majesty frowned, totally confused. Wait, didn't you practically beg for this engagement? You were obsessed with Link. And now you're dumping him? Why? Alicia played her ace card. Your Majesty, I'm simply not worthy of the crown. I've done some serious soul-searching. Can a childish girl like me really lead this nation? Am I actually future Empress's material? I'd be a liability to the Empire. She remained bowed, looking like the picture of humble repentance. Punish me however you see fit. I'm ready to face your wrath. But instead of rage, the Emperor chuckled. Look at me, child. Alicia looked up and froze. He wasn't mad, he was beaming. Before today, he thought she was just a pretty face with 0 brain cells. But after she nailed his diagnosis and saved his army from a suicide mission, his opinion of her did a complete 180. A genius tactician who sacrifices her own heart for the greater good. That is main character energy. He didn't see a girl quitting. He saw a leader crushed by the weight of responsibility. If she keeps this mindset, he thought she's going to be a legendary empress. It was a disaster. Her I suck speech completely backfired. Instead of dumping her, he was basically fanboying over her. Panic mode engage. Alicia realized she had to drop the act. Actually, Your Majesty, there's another reason. I want to become a doctor. Her dad clutched his chest like he'd been shot. It all made sense now. Her sudden good girl behavior was just the calm before the storm. She was plotting this insanity all along. Alicia, he gasped. Are you serious? You want to practice medicine? I spoil you rotten, but if this is a prank, you're grounded for life. Alicia didn't blink. It's the truth. I crave the pressure, the cold steel of a scalpel, the thrum of a pulse, the rush of cheating death. It's a brutal path, the Emperor warned. I know, she replied, but that struggle gives my life meaning. The Emperor stroked his chin. Unexpected. All right then, let's make this interesting. How about a wager? Looking at her fire, the Emperor saw a ghost, Alicia's mother. She had that same stubborn obsession with healing. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Fine, the Emperor decided. I'll let you play doctor at the hospital. His plan. Let reality crush her. A few days of blood and guts, and she'd come running back to the palace. Back at the mansion, the news dropped like a bomb. Her older brother Ryan scoffed. Total nonsense, he muttered. Her second brother Grace just rolled his eyes. She's playing dress-up. Her stepmom was so stunned she rebooted. The consensus. Just another one of Alicia's weird phases. Let the haters hate. Alicia ignored them all and cornered Grace. I need a ride to the library. Now, she had 1 week before her hospital debut, time to grind XP and devour every medical text in existence. Inside, she was screaming with joy. Her dream life, her real life, was finally loading. But the library held a shocker. This world wasn't primitive. They had antibiotics, anesthetics. We're talking molecular diagnostics and x-rays. How was this tech so OP? It all pointed to one name, Alchemist Fleming. Fleming, she realized. This guy wasn't a wizard. He was an earthling just like me. If this dude were back home, he'd have stacked up 20 Nobel Prizes by now. Game recognized game. Crushing through piles of research materials, Gray finally wrapped up his notes. Outside, the sky was already pitch black as he packed up to leave. But then he caught wind of something crazy. Alicia was still camped out in the library. She'd been locked in there since dawn, grinding through books without a single break. No food, no water, and zero vibes of heading home anytime soon. Gray's jaw hit the floor. His little sister had officially lost her mind. He sprinted to the library and gripped her shoulder to snap her out of it. Check the clock, Allie. When she finally looked up, the hands were already creeping past 11:40 at night. Staring at the mountain of complex medical texts stacked on her desk, Gray couldn't help but ask, "Sis, are you actually comprehending this stuff?" She played it cool, admitting they were tough, but she was managing. Then Gray glanced at her notes. They were meticulously organized. This wasn't just skimming, this was mastery. Was his sister a closet genius? But it was way too late for this epiphany. He couldn't let her burn out, so he decided to drag her home right then and there. But Alicia wasn't budging. She insisted on grinding for a bit longer. Later, Gray went straight to their dad to vent, explaining that Alicia was practically living in the library now, and dragging her away was like moving a boulder. Hearing this, their father's face clouded with worry, fearing she was pushing past her limits. But Alicia just flashed a reassuring smile, insisting she was totally fine. That just made her big brother panic even more. "Fine, you're fragile as glass. How are you going to survive this intensity?" Their father's frown deepened. Becoming a doctor wasn't a hobby. It was grueling, back-breaking labor. And Alicia had been physically weak since she was a toddler. Plus, the assigned hospital was for commoners, meaning the conditions were absolutely trash. Weighing the risks, he really didn't want his little girl chasing this medical path. He got serious, asking if she was only torturing herself just to win that bet and cancel her engagement. If that's the case, forget the wager. I'll march to the Emperor myself and beg him to reconsider. But Alicia stood her ground, eyes blazing. She wanted to heal people. This was her legitimate dream now. Hearing the conviction in her voice, her father froze. Then a smile of pure relief and pride washed over his face. His spoiled little princess had finally grown up. To ensure she didn't get any VIP treatment because of her last name, Alicia went undercover using the alias Laura. Meanwhile, in a cramped hospital office, a young medical professor slammed a book onto the floor. He was fuming about being saddled with some rookie apprentice, who was only 16 and probably clueless. He glared at the wall clock. "We said 10 o'clock sharp. If she's even a second late, I'm kicking her out." Just as the clock tower told 10, a crisp knock echoed on the door. Alicia had nailed the timing perfectly. "Pleasure to meet you. I'm Laura." Seeing the delicate girl standing there, Graham was completely thrown off. She was stunning and clearly a high society noble who'd never worked a day in her life. He scoffed internally. How could a pampered princess with manicured hands possibly handle the bloody weight of saving lives? Skipping the pleasantries, Graham grilled her immediately. "I see you're barely out of diapers. You haven't even graduated med school, right?" Alicia admitted she was self-taught. Hearing that, Graham's blood boiled. He looked at her with pure disdain, asking if she even understood what medicine actually was. "I do. It's treating the sick. Have you ever watched the life drain out of someone's eyes?" "Yes, I have. Doctors see hell every day. What do you do if a patient you fought to save dies anyway?" "I would bury the deceased in my heart." "Bury them in your heart," Graham froze. That was a legendary mantra among veteran healers. It meant carrying the weight of every loss, remembering every detail so you never make the same mistake twice. He couldn't believe this rookie knew the code. He was done interrogating her. He couldn't trip her up verbally. But since Viscount Kate recommended her, he had to give her a post. He decided to play dirty, wanting to dump her in the filthiest, most chaotic ward. It was cruel, sure, but scaring her off now was for her own good. Graham marched her to the location and gestured to the room. "This is your station. It's filled with the homeless and destitute. Some are terminal with zero chance of survival. Honestly, treating them is basically pointless. We just keep them comfortable following the dying wish of the late Marchioness Teresa of the Roland family. The Roland family bankrolls most of this hospital. I expect you to keep that in mind and show some respect." The irony was thick. Graham had no clue the girl standing right there was the literal daughter of House Roland. And that Lady Teresa, that was Alicia's own mother. Anyway, your job is just to watch over them. "Wait, Alicia, cut in eyes sharp. Do you want me to provide full aggressive treatment, or just palliative care?" Graham froze. He couldn't believe a kid just dropped a medical question that precise. He tried to brush it off, mumbling that they only needed conservative treatment to prevent pressure ulcers from forming, but Alicia wasn't letting it slide. And if the ulcers turned critical, she pressed. "Or if necrosis sets in." "Do we operate?" Graham snapped. "Surgery. How do you even know the term necrotic tissue resection?" Look, you can try your best, but don't pretend to understand things way above your pay grade. You're Alicia, right? Listen, if this gig gets too heavy, just say the word. No shame in walking away. I'm not gonna force you. Alicia read between the lines perfectly. If you can't handle the heat, get out of the kitchen. She just flashed a confident smile and promised to give it 100%. Graham didn't look convinced as he packed up and walked out. Despite her spunk, he figured she'd quit in 2 days tops. Alone, Alicia surveyed the room full of critically ill homeless patients. In her past life as a top-tier surgeon, scenes like this were just another Tuesday. But right now, she was starting from zero. To qualify for the Medical Research Academy exams, she had to grind as an apprentice. She had exactly 6 months to win over the hospital faculty. The clock was ticking. She needed to turn this ward around and force Graham to respect her. No time to waste. Alicia rolled up her sleeves immediately. Priority 1, this place was a disgusting mess. She cornered 2 nurses, ordering them to help bathe the patients because the current filth was basically a breeding ground for infection. Healing was impossible in a dump like this. Realizing this little girl was Graham's new student, the nurses started throwing shade immediately. She's obviously some spoiled princess. Cleaning is technically our job, sure, but nobody actually bothers with it. They crossed their arms, refusing to lift a finger. Who did this kid think she was bossing them around? Fine. If they wouldn't help, she'd do it solo. The manual labor was brutal and exhausting, covering her pristine clothes in grime, but she didn't utter a single complaint. Everyone focused on meds and surgery, ignoring the silent killer hygiene. That's why these people were dying. Seeing her scrubbing floors and washing patients like a maniac, something shifted in the nurses. Guilt kicked in. They rushed over to grab the buckets. It was their job, after all. With the 3 of them hustling together, the ward transformed. The sparkle was back, and the patients were actually crying with gratitude. Step 1, sanitation check. Now for the medicine. Alicia examined a patient with nasty symptoms and realized his infection had spiraled. The pressure ulcers were deep. Alicia made the call, "I'm performing a resection." The nurses looked at her like she was insane. A child doing surgery. No way. It's a minor procedure, Alicia thought. I won't get in too much trouble. Better to ask forgiveness than let this guy rot. She prepped the anesthesia, sterilized the area, and held out her hand. Scalpel. The nurse hesitated, terrified. If this went south, their heads were on the chopping block. But the moment Alicia's fingers closed around that steel handle, her past life roared back. This was where she belonged. Her determination spiked. As she began to cut, her technique was flawless. The nurses watched in stunned silence. Even the senior residents didn't handle a blade this smoothly. Minutes later, it was over. The patient let out a sigh of relief. The pain was gone. The nurses stood there with their jaws on the floor. They had completely misjudged this kid. Alicia just flashed them a grin, ready for the next one. For a solid week, she ran the place. Graham had completely ghosted her. Then the director summoned him. "How's the new girl doing?" Graham froze. He'd honestly forgotten she existed. He hadn't seen her in days. "Did she wash out already?" he improvised. "Oh, the kid. She's, self-studying in the ward." Self-studying. The director's face went purple. Wham! He slammed his hand on the desk. "You idiot. She's not just some random intern. And you left her unsupervised." Graham stumbled out of the office, ears ringing from the screaming. He muttered under his breath, "I'm already swamped, and now I have to babysit some VIP princess. If she's so special, you train her." He kicked the ward doors open and stopped. It was spotless, immaculate. Graham blinked, confused. Am I in the wrong building? He actually stepped back to check the room number. This was definitely the spot, but looking around, the vibe had completely shifted from a week ago. The patients weren't just alive. They were buzzing with energy. Graham stood there, totally shook by the transformation. Then he spotted Alicia passed out cold in the corner. Instant rage. Graham stormed over to shake her awake, but the patients physically blocked him. "Back off, Doc. This girl's been grinding nonstop all night to keep us alive. Let her crash for a bit." The nurses chimed in too, hyping Laura up as the absolute MVP of the ward. Graham was bewildered. He demanded the full report on what went down. The nurses dropped the bombshell. Laura had personally debrided all the necrotic tissue and pulled an all-nighter, stabilizing the critical cases. It sounded impressive, but Graham just saw red. Did she seriously attempt surgery based on mere textbook theory? One slip-up and she could have sent these patients straight to the grave. The more he stewed on it, the angrier he got. He was ready to tear her a new one when Alicia finally snapped awake. But the second her eyes opened, she was met with Graham's death stare. He grilled her instantly about the unauthorized procedures. "What if you botched it?" She apologized, claiming the wounds were nasty, so she just did a quick cleanup. Alicia realized something, though. He wasn't just mean. He actually cared. This wasn't a mentor who'd leave an apprentice out to dry. But since the lecture was over, Graham decided to inspect the damage himself. However, when he peeled back the bandages, he was floored. The infection on this guy was catastrophic before. It should have been untreatable. How did she pull this off? Graham demanded to know if Dr. Barrow had stepped in to help. The nurse shut that down immediately. Miss Laura ran this show solo, staring at a bandaging technique he'd never seen. In his life, Graham refused to believe a rookie did this. Who taught you? Who's your master? The nurse sounded like a broken record. It was literally all Laura. No backup, just her. Graham couldn't process it. You expect me to buy that? Faced with her teacher's interrogation, Alicia froze like a deer in headlights. She couldn't exactly drop the "I was a medical god in my past life" card. She stammered that she just followed the books. Graham went dead silent. Medicine isn't about reading. It's about mileage. You can memorize every page, but you don't get hands that steady without practice. Alicia nervously asked if she messed up. Graham shook his head, speechless. So, you here to check the patients? That snapped Graham back to reality. The director had ordered him to watch over her. Starting tomorrow, you're under my direct supervision. It was official. Graham was now her mentor. But this wasn't a reward. He needed to keep her close to figure out if she was a prodigy or a fraud. Meanwhile, a full week had passed since Alicia nuked her engagement. Over at the palace, one of the Empire's top doctors was sweating bullets because the Emperor's fatigue wasn't fading. Desperate for a lead, Link had a flashback to Alicia's diagnosis. He spilled the tea to Viscount Ben about her observation. When Ben heard the part about sugar overload, his gears started turning. A groundbreaking medical paper had just dropped regarding glucose concentration. The symptoms described in that research were a perfect match for the king's condition. Viscount Ben decided he needed to investigate immediately. But before dashing off, he asked, which famous doctor cracked this code? Link went stiff. Could he really call a teenage girl a famous doctor? Viscount Ben noted that this glucose condition was uncharted territory. It was barely a whisper among foreign experts. In this entire country, maybe less than 20 people knew it existed. Link was stunned. Alicia belonged to an elite club of less than 20 people. He was about to name-drop Alicia when the Emperor cut him off. The investigation took priority over the source. Even though Viscount Ben was dying of curiosity, the king had subtly shut down the conversation. You don't push the monarch. Viscount Ben was convinced the mystery healer had to be an insider, someone from the Royal Cross Hospital maybe. But those elites had gathered for a consultation and missed it completely. Maybe the Rushray Hospital? No way, those guys are only in it for the cash grab. It was a total dead end. None of those leads checked out. That left just one option on the table: Teresa Hospital. Teresa Hospital was the real deal, home to heavy hitters like the legendary Director God and that young prodigy Graham. Link had only crossed paths with him once. If anyone had the intel, it was them. Link knew he had to manufacture a run-in with those doctors no matter what. But something else was eating at him. Why was the king so obsessed with keeping Alicia's identity under wraps? Then it clicked. The king didn't see a doctor when he looked at her. He saw the future princess consort. In his eyes, she didn't need to get her hands dirty in the medical world. Sure, being a doctor is prestigious, but for a future royal, absolutely not. That's when the king turned to Link and dropped the bomb. So, what do you think about marrying Alicia? Link played it cool, giving a non-answer. I'll follow your lead, your majesty. No excitement, no pushback, just a poker face. Faced with his son's brick wall attitude, the emperor realized he wasn't getting anywhere and dropped it. He shifted gears, asking for the sitrep on the Crimea expedition. The emperor sat in silence as Link broke it down, but halfway through, the king's jaw practically hit the floor. Every single detail in Link's report, it matched Alicia's earlier predictions perfectly. She hadn't just guessed, she'd forecasted the future. Realizing she was a strategic mastermind, the emperor was now 100% locked in. Alicia had to be his daughter-in-law. He turned to Link. Where's your next undercover trip? Link replied, Iceland. The king smirked. Skip Iceland. Go to Fiore instead. Link was confused for a split second, but then he caught that knowing grin on his father's face. Message received. The king was sending him straight to Teresa Hospital to watch Alicia in action. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Alicia's skills were under the microscope. Her instructor wasn't buying the hype, so he dragged her into the consult room to test her mettle. He pointed to a patient. What's the diagnosis? He challenged. Alicia didn't flinch. Bacterial pneumonia. Graham frowned. You sure it's not pleural effusion? Look at the hardening signs, she countered. Compared to effusion, the evidence screams pneumonia. Graham was shook. That was a veteran-level call. He stared at her. Who exactly was this kid? The world had seen geniuses before, legends like the alchemist Fleming, and Galen, the godfather of medicine. But Alicia, she was so young, yet operated with the confidence of a pro. Was she a one-in-a-million prodigy? The shift ended. Master, what's next? Alicia asked. Nothing. Go home, he said, then paused. Wait. Alicia. Graham swallowed his pride. Hey, my bad. I judged you based on your looks, before I saw your skills. I'm sorry. No sweat, master, she beamed. Graham watched her go, feeling like a total jerk. She had treated a homeless patient with total dedication while he stood there judging her. That was real class. Graham finally respected her, not as a student, but as a doctor. They shook hands, sealing the peace treaty. Back at the mansion, Alicia's dad grilled her about the hospital. Alicia was vibing, saying she loved it. But her dad, he was fuming. How dare those doctors put his precious daughter in a filthy ward? And that guy, Graham, made her take care of a vagrant. If Alicia hadn't physically held him back, her dad would have stormed the hospital and fired Graham on the spot. Next level unlocked the emergency station. The general ward had nothing left to teach her. This zone was VIP, only reserved for seasoned apprentices or interns who had already proved they were elite. The emergency station was the front line. It was basically the ER on steroids, the place for trauma surgery and critical care. It was a magnet for the worst-case scenarios. Graham was low-key hyped. In a high-pressure cooker like that, would this girl crumble or shine? But when Alicia's dad heard emergency station, he flipped his lid again. He was ready to terminate Graham's career immediately, but Alicia blocked him. Dad, chill. This is a huge opportunity. It means they respect my skills. She pleaded with him to let it go. I've got this, seriously. Seeing the fire in her eyes, the Duke let out a defeated sigh. Fine, he growled, but if anyone gives you a hard time, I will destroy them. Especially that Graham character. The next morning, Alicia rolled up to the emergency station, and the whole room stopped. She looked like a runway model lost in a war zone. Miss, you sure you're in the right place? I'm not lost, she said coolly. My master ordered me to report here. Your master, who's that? Before Alicia could speak, a voice cut through the noise from behind. That would be me. Graham stepped into the light. The entire ER staff dropped their jaws. Silence took over the room. Because of her baby face, Alicia was constantly slept on. It was the same old story back when she first stepped foot in a hospital. And now, rolling into her internship at the ER station, yeah, the vibe was exactly the same. The real plot twist, though, her mentor was none other than Graham, the youngest medical professor in the game. Since Graham had a meeting to catch, he pawned Alicia off on Hansen, a fellow intern, telling him to show her the ropes. Basically, babysit the new girl while I'm gone. Hansen sized up the girl, figuring she was some sheltered rich kid from a noble family. Plus, that angelic face. Yeah, he was catching feels instantly. He walked Alicia through the basics, breaking down every department one by one, dropping the hard truth professors aren't always around. When a patient rolls in, interns run the initial diagnostics, flag the higher-ups, and then the specialists swoop in to save the day. Hearing the workflow, Alicia realized the protocol was identical to Earth's. As she scanned the surgical tools, Hansen promised to page her personally if any action went down. Alicia flashed a smile and agreed. That sweet smile sent Hansen's heart racing all over again, but the romantic tension snapped when a critical patient burst through the doors. The guy was clutching his chest, gasping for air, totally unable to breathe. Seeing the pure agony on his face, Hansen froze. Panic set in. In a desperate scramble, he moved to hook up an EKG and sent someone to hunt down Professor Graham. But Alicia, watching from the sidelines, clocked something off. This wasn't a heart attack. An EKG was going to be a total waste of precious seconds. The guy was suffocating. He wouldn't last until Graham showed up. Alicia knew she had to go rogue, she demanded. The stethoscope from Hansen, but the guy was paralyzed with fear. With the clock ticking, Alicia had zero choice. She snatched it right out of his hands. A quick listen confirmed it pneumothorax, but spotting the deviation in the left lung, she realized it was worse. This wasn't just a collapsed lung. It was a tension pneumothorax. The trapped air was building massive pressure, crushing the heart, and triggering shock. Without immediate intervention, this guy was a goner. I need disinfectant and a syringe. Now. Move it. Get me the thickest needle you have. A stunned intern scrambled to hand it over. Hansen looked like he was seeing a ghost. Are you insane? Alicia didn't waste breath explaining. She just ordered everyone to hold the patient down. Without flinching, Alicia plunged the needle into the patient's left chest. A few precise maneuvers later, the patient gasped, snapping out of shock. Alicia let out a silent breath of relief. She bowed to Hansen, apologizing for going beast mode and grabbing his gear. Right on cue, Graham walked in. Seeing a needle sticking out of the patient's chest, he demanded, "Who did this?" The entire room turned their eyes to Alicia. "Why did you act?" "I diagnosed a tension pneumothorax. I had to vent the trapped gas immediately," she replied calmly. "So it was tension pneumo." Graham paused. "Good call. That condition kills. In a heartbeat. Thanks to Alicia, this man is breathing." Hansen stood there, jaw on the floor. Professor Graham, the guy who never compliments anyone, just gave her props. Another professor stepped in, totally confused. "How did she even catch that diagnosis I saw?" "The respiratory distress," Alicia explained. The stethoscope picked up 0 breath sounds, pointing to a collapsed lung. Plus, the carotid pulse was gone. That confirmed the pressure was strangling the heart. Tension pneumothorax. The ER staff stared at her in silence. This rookie just dropped a masterclass response. Even crazier, her explanation mirrored Graham's legendary medical papers from years ago, word for word. Her grasp of professional theory was terrifyingly accurate. Listening to the murmurs around the room, Graham was shook. This little girl nailed a complex diagnosis. In the middle of chaos, her knowledge base was light years ahead of her age group. But without raw experience, pulling off a needle decompression is impossible. Yet she'd only been here for half a month and was already performing like a veteran. It didn't make sense. She was a genius among geniuses. The massive gap in skill made Graham feel a sudden wave of insecurity. As the eldest son of a failing noble house, he had sacrificed everything to restore his family's glory. He wasn't born gifted. To stand where he stood today, he had to grind 100 times harder than anyone else. Graham stared at her stunned. This wasn't just a smart kid. Laura had been a prodigy since day one, her potential absolutely off the charts. She had the skills to become a legend, easily rivaling Dr. Green or the alchemist Fleming. She was main character material. And honestly, that was exactly the kind of greatness Graham had been praying to witness. You could practically see the hype building in his eyes. Meanwhile, the story of Alicia saving a life was spreading through the hospital like wildfire. At first, the staff had been skeptical. They looked at her and thought, no way a kid this small has the guts to handle a needle. But she proved the haters wrong in a heartbeat. She saved the patient, and you can't argue with results. Over the next few days, Alicia went full beast mode, dragging multiple patients back from the brink of death. But inside, she was sweating it. Is this really smart, she wondered. People are watching. I'm just a rookie intern who just got here. But I can't just stand by and let people flatline right in front of me. It was too late to lay low now. Alicia realized she had accidentally put a massive target on her back by being too good. Little did she know Link had just rolled into her city. Talk about bad timing. He was on a covert mission, traveling incognito with a royal knight. Thanks to some high-level disguise arts, nobody recognized him. He looked like a totally different person. Your Highness, Lando asked, you look wrecked. Insomnia acting up again. Still feeling weak all over, Link sighed. Yeah, ever since that nightmare 15 years ago, a peaceful night's sleep was just a fantasy. Every time he closed his eyes, the demons came out to play. Have you seen the royal physician? Lando pressed. I'm taking the meds, Link muttered, clearly frustrated. But let's be real, they aren't doing jack. We need to consult the doctor again as soon as we get back to the palace. Link waved him off. Let's just wait a bit. Lando looked like he wanted to push the issue, but Link shut it down. So, anywhere else we need to hit up? That question jogged his memory. Right. The other reason he was here. The king had basically ordered him to check on Alicia. Even though the engagement breakup wasn't official yet, Link knew the king's personality. This was a done deal. There was no hitting the undo button on this situation. That bet the king made with Alicia, just a stall tactic to keep her safe. Link was 100% sure she had zero chance of winning. As for who he'd eventually marry, he couldn't care less. He was totally checked out of the romance department. But Alicia, she wasn't just reluctant. She was obsessed with playing doctor. It was kind of concerning. Forget it, Link decided. He wasn't in the mood to deal with her drama. He prepared to head straight back. To save time, Lando steered them toward a sketchy alleyway. Heads up, might be bandits here, Lando warned. But don't worry, Your Highness. I've got your back. Classic royal knight confidence. The irony, Link didn't need a babysitter. He was the legendary hero of the Angel War. He was the danger. And, speaking of timing, barely 2 seconds after they stepped into the shadows, a junkie stumbled out from behind a wall, waving a knife like a maniac. Empty your pockets, he screamed. Link blinked. He wasn't scared, he was just confused. Drugs were strictly banned in the Empire. How was this guy so wasted out in the open? The audacity was unreal. Link was about to drag this guy to the guards, but the criminal noticed his victims weren't trembling. Panicking, the addict went on the offensive. It was go time. Lando didn't hesitate. In a blur, Lando struck, knocking the blade away and slamming the guy into the dirt. Game over. Seeing the threat neutralized, they both exhaled, but they let their guard down too soon. The junkie had a backup plan. While they were distracted, he fired a hidden weapon right under Lando's heart. The psycho aimed at Link next. Lando, fighting through the agony, grabbed the weapon and lunged for the kill. The junkie hit the floor with a thud. Threat ended. But Lando was in bad shape. He collapsed into Link's arms, blood pooling fast. The shot had ruptured his spleen. It was a critical hit. His pulse was fading and his breathing was barely there. The Royal Hospital was miles away. They wouldn't make it. Link realized their only shot was the nearby Teresa Hospital. Adrenaline kicking in, Link scooped up his guard and sprinted. Meanwhile, back at the clinic, Professor, the patient with the dislocated shoulder already fixed. Graham stared at her, slack-jawed. Wait, how did you... Simple leverage, she shrugged, explaining the move like she was reading a grocery list. Graham was officially done being shocked. She reset that dislocated shoulder using the Kocher maneuver with absolute finesse. This wasn't just beginner's luck. It was like watching a veteran surgeon at work, total prodigy vibes. Lately, Alicia had been grinding non-stop. Graham told her to take a breather. Thanks for looking out for me. That smile, lethal. Graham felt the heat rising to his cheeks. Hold up, was he catching feelings for his own student? Sudden vibe shift, emergency incoming, the doors burst open and it was Link rushing in. Graham took one look at the bullet entry point and his face went dark. Link was frantic, demanding updates on Lando, and begging them to save his life. Staring at the blonde guy, Alicia felt this weird sense of déjà vu. Graham dropped the bad news. The bullet shattered the spleen and ruptured major vessels. It was a disaster zone. Survival chances, basically zero. Hearing that Link whipped out a medal from his coat, Alicia and Graham froze. That wasn't just jewelry. That was the Roman royal crest. Major plot twist. I don't care about the cost. Name your price, just fix him, despite the guy's desperation. Graham just sighed. Royal status doesn't stop death. Some wounds are just a one-way ticket. While Graham was spiraling, Alicia stepped up with main character energy. I have a plan. Excuse me, Graham blinked. The spleen is toast. The arteries are shredded. There's no stopping that leak. Alicia cut in. I know, so we don't fix it. We remove the whole spleen. Graham stood there buffering. Wait, that actually makes sense. If you yank the organ and tie off the arteries, the bleeding stops instantly. It was such a simple hack, yet nobody had ever thought of it. But there was a massive catch. The spleen is buried deep in the abdominal cavity, like way in the back. One wrong move and you slice the other organs. We cut the ligaments first, then rotate it out. That clears the path. Graham's brain couldn't even process her speed. Who's gonna pull that off? I'm not on that level. Alicia didn't blink. I'll do it. Graham thought he was hallucinating. Real talk, if Alicia hadn't stepped up today, Lando would be a goner right now. The reality of that hit Link hard. He bowed low, a gesture of pure, unfiltered respect. Thank you, miss. You really came through for us, handling that surgery like a pro. Alicia brushed it off, cool as ice. Just doing my job, no stress. Link tried to bring up the reward money, but she cut him off with a reality check. Head straight to the billing department. And brace yourself, the price tag on this treatment isn't going to be pretty. See, at Teresa Hospital, we price gouge based on status. The higher your social class, the steeper the bill. When you see those numbers, try not to have a heart attack. And please don't flip out on the staff. Link actually paused. Him, a whole prince scared of a hospital bill. Please, I'll have my people handle the finances, he scoffed internally. I'm moving Lando to the Royal Cross Hospital tomorrow morning. Alicia nodded unfazed. Fine by me. Shouldn't be an issue. I'll have the surgical report ready for the transfer. As she mentally prepped the paperwork, Alicia knew she had to document every single slice and stitch. This wasn't just any procedure. A full spleen removal is practically a myth at the Royal Hospital. Link started to head out, but the second he stood up, the room spun. His knees buckled and Alicia caught him before he could hit the floor. He looked pale. Instinct took over. Alicia reached out to check his temperature, but that sudden proximity, it sent Link into a panic. His face heated up and he jerked his head away, refusing to make eye contact. Don't. I'm fine. Stop. It's nothing, just chronic dizziness. I've had it forever. Chronic dizziness. Alicia narrowed her eyes. That didn't add up. Just give me 2 seconds to check you. Come here. But Link was already backing away like she was holding a grenade. He didn't even let her finish. He spun around and bolted, leaving Alicia standing there totally bewildered. With a body that weak, why is he dodging a checkup? She muttered. She yelled out to his retreating back, Lord Link, if those spells get worse, "You need to come back immediately." No response. But you could see the crimson flush spreading all the way to the tips of his ears. The poor guy was probably too flustered to even form a sentence. Alicia had literally snatched his best man from the jaws of death. That moment completely shattered Link's old image of her. What the prince didn't realize, he was catching major feelings for his own fiancée without even knowing it. That explained the panic and the blushing whenever she tried to play doctor. Fast forward to the next morning. Link made good on his word and moved Lando. Meanwhile, Viscount Ben at the Royal Hospital got his hands on Alicia's surgical notes. Ben wasn't just some random doctor. He was an elite medical expert from the Imperial Hospital, and he was absolutely floored. He treated those papers like holy scripture, summoning every doctor in the building to come gaze at the masterpiece. Needing answers, Viscount Ben marched straight to the director's office at Teresa Hospital. He didn't waste time with small talk. Who performed this splenectomy? The director blinked, looking completely lost. Splen, what now? Realizing his old pal was clueless, Ben shoved the report in his face. The director squinted. What is this chicken scratch? The handwriting is atrocious. He scanned it and shrugged. He wasn't impressed. He thought it was total gibberish. Nice theory, but actually pulling off a surgery, this complex impossible. Ben stared at him, jaw dropped. Are you kidding me? This literally happened under your roof. It was clear this director spent his days slacking off, completely oblivious to his own staff's work. Ben pressed him. Think harder. Who is capable of this level of skill? The director racked his brain until a faint memory surfaced. A few days ago. Yeah, we had a gunshot victim. The attending surgeon was Graham, I think. Graham, the youngest genius professor. Ben's eyes lit up. This was exactly the kind of prodigy he needed to poach for the Royal Hospital. Get him in here, Ben demanded. I need to hear about this surgery from the man himself. But the director shook his head. Can't do that. Since that operation, Graham's been AWOL. Word is, he's locked himself in his house, acting like he's traumatized or something. Graham's disappearance threw Alicia for a loop too. What's going on? Was the surgery that stressful? He had been acting weird immediately after the procedure. Alicia figured he just needed a break and would bounce back. But days turned into a week, and still no Graham. Worried something was seriously wrong, Alicia decided to make a house call. An elderly woman answered the knock. Alicia introduced herself and explained she was a concerned colleague. The woman ushered her in. As Alicia stepped inside, her eyes landed on a bookshelf packed with medical texts, and her jaw hit the floor. The spines of the books were completely thrashed, shredded from obsessive use. It was clear the master had devoured every page. I'm afraid Miss Laura can't see the young master today. Is he sick? No, not sick. Just spiraling. The housekeeper sighed. He dove headfirst into his research again. A few days ago, he came home raving about some miracle surgery he witnessed. Said he had to deconstruct it piece by piece. He locked himself in his room and hasn't seen the sun since. Usually he surfaces after 1 or 2 days, but this time, whatever he saw shook him to his core. Alicia stood there stunned. She never expected her surgery to hit him that hard. Suddenly, a framed photo on the side table caught her eye. It was little Graham, tightly gripping his mother's hand. 20 years ago, a plague swept through, the old woman whispered. It wiped out his entire family. Only the young master and I made it out alive. After losing everyone, he swore to become a doctor who could crush any disease. That's why he pushes himself to the brink. Hearing the housekeeper's story, Alicia couldn't help but frown. An orphan barely 10 years old diving into medicine with that kind of trauma. A child shouldering the ruin of his entire bloodline. How did he even survive the mental toll? He said he'll be back at the hospital tomorrow. He's probably done crunching the data. Don't worry too much. Now I should get going. Please, give the master my regards. Knowing Graham was safe, Alicia turned to leave. And from the second-floor window, Graham stood like a statue, watching her silhouette fade into the distance, his thoughts unreadable. Back at the hospital, Alicia got the news. The director summoned Graham to his office. They wanted the tea on that legendary splenectomy. Graham thought for a second, then dragged Alicia along with him. They knocked, but when the door swung open, the director wasn't flying solo. Standing there was Viscount Ben, the royal physician. Asterisk, panic mode activated. Asterisk, in her past life. When she was Empress Viscount, Ben was her personal doctor. Wait, scratch that, not just as Empress. He'd been treating her since she was a literal child. Alicia realized she was walking into a minefield. If Viscount Ben clocked her identity, it was game over. And the moment Ben saw Alicia, he froze. Lady Alicia. But before the suspicion could stick, the director waved it off. Nah, just a rookie apprentice. Ben's shoulders relaxed. Asterisk. Right, just a doppelganger. Asterisk. Why would a noble lady be scrubbing floors as an intern? In a place like this, they looked identical, sure, but the vibe was totally different. While Ben wrestled with the resemblance, the director started chewing Graham out for going AWOL. That jogged Ben's memory. He cut in to defend Graham but immediately pivoted to the real topic. The surgery. He needed to know how that splenectomy was pulled off. Ben was clearly fanboying over the technique. That operation, Ben declared, is going to rewrite medical history. Graham let out a heavy sigh. I didn't do the surgery. He looked the royal physician dead in the eye. If you have questions, you'd better ask the girl standing next to me, because she's the one who held the scalpel. Ben looked like his brain just short-circuited. The director, he turned purple with rage. He hissed at Graham to watch his mouth. This is the royal physician. You think this is the time for jokes? But nobody was laughing. Graham doubled down. I'm dead serious. If you don't believe me, ask the other assistant who was in the room. The office went silent. You could hear a pin drop. Now the spotlight was on her. The director, the imperial doctor. Alicia knew. She had definitely cooked herself this time. She'd been working here for less than a month, and she's already performing masterclass surgeries. But if she hadn't acted, the patient would be dead. Asterisk. Wait, why am I panicking times? Didn't she already predict this might happen? Saving a life trumps following the rules. And considering her high-stakes bet with His Majesty, this might actually be a power move. If she wanted to win that bet, she needed to flex her insane skills anyway. With her mind made up, Alicia stepped forward. The surgery. I did it. Ben leaned in intense. You really operated. Yes, Viscount. And the surgical report. You wrote that too. Every word. Ben looked like he'd just discovered gold. But the director was still in denial. He couldn't wrap his head around the fact that a newbie intern had just set a medical precedent. Desperate to prove it, he demanded Alicia describe the procedure. It was a test, plain and simple. Alice didn't flinch at the director's shade. Instead, she dissected the surgery piece by piece. As Alice broke it down, Viscount Ben and the director stood there, jaws on the floor. She didn't just sound professional. She was crystal clear. It felt less like listening to an apprentice, and more like attending a master class at an elite medical academy. Her words painted such a vivid picture, they could practically see the scalpel moving in their minds. It was absolutely mind-blowing. And the moment Alice finished her lecture, Graham stepped up to drop the hammer, confirming that her description matched the operation perfectly. No more doubts. The fact screamed one thing, Alice was the surgeon behind the miracle. Viscount Ben stared at her eyes wide with disbelief. You're seriously just an apprentice. How on earth did you pull that off? The question made Alice flush with awkwardness. Asterisk. Great. How do I spin this asterisk? Asterisk. Hey, I was a top-tier surgeon in a past lifetimes. Yeah, right. They'd lock her up for insanity. She had to bluff. So she lied smoothly, claiming she combined textbook theory with extensive mental simulations. That floored the director and the Viscount even more. This girl nailed a complex surgery just by reading times about it. If true, she was in the same league as Fleming and Graham. A prodigy, plain and simple. Seeing the director still hesitating, Graham stepped in again. He vouched for her story without a second thought. The bottom line is, he insisted she successfully performed a splenectomy. She's more brilliant than any physician I've ever met. Honestly, it's humbling to admit I have nothing left to teach her. Her skills are already on my level. Graham's confession finally silenced the director. Graham was the Empire's youngest medical genius, a guy with an ego to match. For him to say something like that, it proved she was the real deal. With the truth out, Viscount Ben made his move. He extended a prestigious offer: come work at the Royal Cross Hospital. The Royal Cross, the Empire's crown jewel of medicine. A sanctuary reserved only for physicians, recognized by the state. Ben declared that a doctor capable of such a complex surgery had already earned her ticket into the Royal Hospital. Plus, he wanted a front-row seat to see what other miracles she had up her sleeve. But the director raised a flag. Will the Royal Hospital actually accept her? She needs a recommendation, sure. But wait, does she even have a license? They don't take apprentices, do they? She's been with us for less than a month. Simple. Ben shrugged. She takes the certification exam. It's scheduled right after the birthday banquet. They could arrange for Alice to sit for the test then, and the problem would resolve itself. Although letting a rookie with less than a year of experience take the boards was unheard of. To make matters more intense, this year's exam would be supervised personally by the Emperor. The director started sweating just thinking about it. Can she actually pass? But Viscount Ben didn't blink. If she can't pass, nobody can. Alice, grateful for the shot, bowed deeply and promised to give it everything she had. Walking out of the hospital gates, Alice was beaming. This went better than planned. She'd been stressing about even getting an invite to the exam. But His Majesty supervising a medical test, he never got involved in that stuff. Asterisk. Why the sudden interest times? She wondered. Asterisk. Is this about our bet? Asterisk. Unable to figure it out, she shrugged it off. The birthday banquet was just around the corner. Better to focus her energy on cramming for the medical license exam. As for the party, she'd just make a cameo and dip. After all, the 6-month deadline for the bet wasn't up yet. Surely he wouldn't announce her engagement to Link at the banquet, right? Comforting herself with that thought, Alice sighed in relief and stretched under the deep blue sky. On the walk home, however, she bumped into someone. It was Link, trying and failing to stay low-key in a disguise. It had been days since he fled in total embarrassment. What was he doing here? Did he miss her, the prince, coming to check on his fiancée? But he didn't say a word. He just stood there burning a hole through her with his gaze. The intensity freaked Alice out. Asterisk. Wait, did I blow my cover? Did Renia flashing the royal crest tip him off that I'm a Roland? Asterisk. Panic seized her chest. Had she just exposed herself? Seeing Mr. Renia flash, that royal crest sent her mind spiraling. Did he know? Had he figured out she was actually a Roland? Alicia shattered the awkward silence first. She asked if he needed anything, but Link shut that down cold. Okay then. Did you have something to say? Link dropped the bomb. He only showed up specifically to see her, mostly to double-check something. That left Alicia completely scrambled. While she was still buffering, Link announced he'd got the confirmation he wanted and turned to leave. Watching him bail, a thought smacked Alicia. She reached out and snatched his arm to stop him. Wait, I need to check your body. Excuse me, realizing that sounded totally sus, Alicia backpedaled fast. I mean, haven't you been dealing with constant dizziness and fatigue? I need to examine you. She dragged Link toward the infirmary, remembering how he'd ghosted her at the last second previously. Link let out a soft sigh. He hadn't actually planned on visiting Alicia, but his limbs had betrayed him moving on autopilot. Plus, this mystery illness. Even Viscount Ben was stumped. What could Alicia possibly spot that the pros missed? The regret hit Link instantly. He should have shut this down hard. How did he let her drag him along so easily? Just as he was plotting his escape, Alicia's voice cut in. You're pale. When exactly did the exhaustion kick in? About 2 months ago. How's your appetite? Dropped any weight lately? No weight loss, but my appetite's trash. Alicia pressed on. Describe the dizziness. Is the room spinning or is your vision just going blurry? Alicia fired off questions like a machine gun, basically the same stuff Viscount Ben asked. Then she suddenly grabbed Link's hand. The sudden contact made Link flinch, totally caught off guard. In reality, Alicia was just running a diagnostic check, gauging his temperature and sweat levels through touch. Sensing that Link ran a little cold, and his palms were weirdly dry, Alicia frowned, analyzing the data. Meanwhile, Link's brain was screaming times. She is holding on way too long. Asterisk. Asterisk. Does she manhandle other patients like this times? The thought made a petty wave of irritation rise in his chest. After checking his palms, Alicia moved to inspect his neck. Boom! Link's face went crimson. Feeling her cool fingers sliding around his throat sent a literal shiver down his spine. The intrusive thought returned times. Does she get this hands-on with everyone? Asterisk. Seeing Link look like he was malfunctioning, Alicia asked if he was hurting anywhere. Obviously, Link wasn't going to drop the truth bomb. He muttered something about being tired. Alicia didn't buy it. Did you catch a cold 2 months back? And does the spot I just touched hurt? Actually, yes. How did you know, Lord Renia? Your fatigue points to thyroiditis. Your thyroid gland is dealing with acute inflammation. The aftermath is causing hypothyroidism. Thyroiditis. That was a brand new vocab word for Link in this world. It was still an obscure niche condition here. No wonder Viscount Ben missed it. Then, Alicia rattled off a list of other symptoms. Link stood there stunned because she was describing his last 2 months with terrifying accuracy. I'm prescribing medication to help jumpstart your thyroid function. You'll be back to 100% in no time. Take this script to the pharmacy department immediately. Be strict with the timing. And I need you back here in 3 days so we can tweak the dosage. If coming here is a hassle, you can take my report to the Royal Cross Hospital instead. Given the choice by his fiancée, he obviously picked the come back in 3 days option, and so began Alicia and the disguised Link's little medical saga. Alicia locked it in. Consultation number 2 would happen in 3 days. Fast forward 3 days. Link showed up right on time, only for Alicia to hand him a slip of paper and announce the appointment was over. Link was low-key ticked off. Asterisk. That's it, we barely started. Asterisk. But when Alicia added come back in 3 days and after that you're good to go forever, Link's frown deepened. Alicia completely misread the vibe, thinking he was stressed about his health. She reassured him he'd heal up fast. The second she stopped talking, Link stormed out without a backward glance. That left Alicia totally baffled. Back at the palace, Alicia's brother Ryan approached the prince. Your Highness, the paperwork is piling up because you keep vanishing every 3 days. Is there an issue? Link thought. Times. Yeah, it's your sister's fault. Asterisk. Instead, he asked Ryan what Alicia was into. Ryan looked shook. Link scrambled for a cover story claiming he just needed to thank her for some stuff. Don't get the wrong idea. Ryan bought it. Oh right, she loves food. Specifically strawberry shortcake, mango pudding and banana tarts. Those are her jams. Oh, and she hates milk. Link clarified he needed something giftable. Then he shot back, is that the kind of stuff you give a girl when you're confessing your love? Realizing he'd just exposed himself big time, Link froze. Asterisk. Oops. Asterisk. Big mistake. Why did he even bother asking him? He should have gone straight to his brother Mikhail. That guy was the certified romance guru. While Link stood there spiraling, Ryan chimed in from the sidelines. How about some jewelry? Logic was sound. Little Alicia used to be obsessed with shiny things. Her childhood dresses were always blinged out with gems. Link weighed the option. A jewel felt safe, sincere, but something in his gut told him it didn't match the woman Alicia had become. Still coming from his brother, it was worth a shot. 3 days flashed by. Link presented the ruby, and Alicia shut him down instantly. I'm a doctor. Saving lives is my job, not a transaction. I can't accept something this pricey. Rejection stung. Link's mood nosedived. Just as he feared, the Alicia standing before him wasn't the luxury-obsessed kid anymore. She caught his vibe shift immediately. Seeing Link looking crushed, she softened. Okay, that rock is too much, but if you really want to get me something, make it strawberry cake. Specifically from Via Bakery. Their frosting is sweet without being a sugar bomb. Strawberry cake, mango pudding, banana tarts, and zero milk. Got it. How did you know? Link ignored her question, flashing a cryptic smirk. From now on, he declared, I'm handling your dessert menu personally. He dropped that line, spun around, and walked off, leaving Alicia frozen in place, totally stunned. Cut to honey, how's this look? Is it okay? You slay in everything. You aren't even looking. Watching her dad and stepmom flirting, Alicia couldn't help but grin. The vibes were immaculate as everyone prepped for the big birthday bash tomorrow. The hospital finally gave her time off. Alicia was hyped to finally lock in some serious study time. That's when Grace stormed in. One look at her pale, feverish face, and he lost it. You look like a ghost and you're still reading. Grace practically dragged her to bed, forcing her to rest. By the next morning, Alicia woke up feeling like she'd been hit by a truck. The cold had gone full-blown flu mode. But today was the banquet. A knock echoed at the door. Grace came in to wake her, ready to prep. But seeing Alicia looking deathly ill, he panicked and summoned a doctor immediately. Just as the doc was about to start, Alicia self-diagnosed. It's likely an upper respiratory tract infection. The high fever confirmed it. Textbook symptoms. Hearing the medical jargon, Grace and her dad freaked out. What? Upper respiratory? What? The doctor, terrified by their reaction, stammered. It's basically a bad cold. Rest and meds, she'll be fine. Once the doc was gone, Dad laid down the law. No more hospital work. You're grinding too hard, he scolded. This burnout is making you sick. Grace backed him up 100%. They were permanently banning her from the hospital. But Alicia wasn't going down without a fight. She unleashed the ultimate weapon, the puppy dog eyes. She promised not to overwork while acting super cute. They folded instantly. With the ban lifted, Grace eyed her condition. Can you even make the party? Before Alicia could answer, Dad interjected. Stay home. I'll take the heat from His Majesty if he gets mad. Seeing her dad and brother in full protective mode warmed her heart more than any medicine. I'm good, really. I'll just sit quietly, listen to the king's speech, and dip. It's low-key anyway. Since she insisted, Dad and Grace could only sigh in defeat. Arriving at the venue, Alicia was wobbling on her feet. Her stepmom was a nervous wreck. Alicia, you okay? Maybe we should go. Mom, I'm fine. After the speech, I'll head back with you. But you stay and enjoy the party a bit longer. I haven't looked forward to this for ages. You're sick. What is there to enjoy? Seriously, I'm fine. Just a sniffle, don't worry. As the Marquise family stepped out of the carriage, the royal guard bellowed. The Roland family has arrived instantly. The crowd erupted in whispers. Is that Grace, the new admin prodigy? And who's the stunner next to him? Who else? That's Alicia. They call her the most beautiful woman in Puria. As the family made their entrance, nobles swarmed them like moths to a flame, kicking off the night. Alicia wasn't feeling the main character energy tonight, so she scouted a quiet corner to recharge her social battery. But just as she got comfy, the announcer's voice boomed. His Highness Link was in the building. Alicia's jaw practically hit the floor. Everyone knew Link despised these stuffy banquets with a passion, so why the heck was he clocking in this early? Fresh off the entrance, Link wasn't mingling. His eyes were darting everywhere, scanning the crowd like a predator hunting for a specific target. Then his gaze locked on tight. Right on, Alicia. Asterisk, is he staring at me times? Nah, impossible. We're practically in different area codes right now. Wait, that reminded her times he times was supposed to show up tonight too. Where was Mihail, the only ride-or-die bestie she had in her tragic past life? Life's twisted irony, right? She ghosted the people she was supposed to align with, yet got tight with the exact dude she needed to stay miles away from. While Alicia was spiraling in her thoughts, a voice cut through. It was the Lady of House Charles. Talk about a blast from the past. In the previous timeline, the Charles and Roland families had crazy beef. We're talking sworn enemies. Plus, Miss Charles had a massive secret crush on Link. So naturally, they viewed each other as love rivals. The vibe between them back then, absolute toxic wasteland. Flashbacks hitting hard. Alicia let out a heavy sigh. Honestly, if Charles had snatched the Empress crown instead, maybe the whole tragic domino effect wouldn't have gone down. Seeing Alicia spacing out, Charles asked what was on her mind. Alicia mumbled something about remembering the past. Asterisk. The past times. Hearing that trigger word sent a literal shiver down Charles's spine. Old Alicia was a nightmare. We're talking mean girls on steroids sneaking frogs onto her chair, chucking her shoes into the pond and the worst, splashing water right in her face, and gaslighting her by claiming there was a bug on her. Recalling her own bratty highlight reel, Alicia wanted to crawl into a hole. Instead, she stood up tall and dropped a super sincere curtsy to Charles. I apologize. I was way out of line back then. Charles was left, completely glitching at this behavior. Asterisk, is she trolling me times? Even though this new Alicia was weird, she seemed to have ditched that toxic main character syndrome. Oh, by the way, do you know who the main event is tonight? Main event, you know? Link's fiancé. Today, His Imperial Majesty is gonna drop the name right after the commemorative speech. Link's future wifey. Tons of princesses here, but the lady of House Roland is gonna get the last laugh, right? Isn't that the plan? Def not me. Alicia knew the score. Ever since she tried to nuke the engagement, she and Link were a sinking ship. Plus, the outcome of their little bet was still up in the air. Why would the Emperor say her name? If it's not you, then who? Seeing Miss Charles, looking all gloomy, Alicia sighed internally. Yup, this girl was definitely still carrying a torch for Link. But thanks to messy politics, the gap between Charles and Link was wider than the Grand Canyon, way worse than a Romeo and Juliet situation. 0% chance. I'm rambling. You look kinda pale though. You feeling okay? Yeah, caught a cold. Girl, take care of yourself. If you're feeling trash, you should be crashing at home. Alright, I'm dipping. Let's grab tea next time. For sure. A gorgeous girl is always gonna be the main attraction. Catching the thirsty and shady stares coming from the crowd below, Link felt a massive spike of jealousy. Asterisk. Can't these losers just enjoy the food? Why are their eyes glued to Alicia times? Ryan, standing next to him, noticed His Highness fuming and asked what was up. Link shot him a look of pure annoyance. How could this guy be just as dense as his sister? Then Link dropped the question, is your sister feeling under the weather? Ryan looked totally lost. He mumbled he wasn't sure, compared to His Highness who basically had superpowers. Ryan's eyesight was average at best. He couldn't spot Alicia from that distance. Realizing asking him was a waste of time, Link sighed, debating if he should just go check on her himself. But just as Link was about to make his move, some guy slid up to Alicia. Seeing this stranger, Alicia was totally thrown off. She immediately asked for an ID check. Who is this guy? The man flashed a smooth smile. Name's Louis, ambassador for the French Republic here for the festivities. Hearing that name, Alicia's past life memories came flooding back like a tidal wave. This was the savage general who crushed the northwest of the Black Continent, the infamous Desert Scorpion Louis, the tactical genius who tried to use the kingdom of Moncel to slice off the rear guard of the Kryn expedition. It was him. But the biggest red flag, Grace's death in the last timeline, was tied directly to this guy. I didn't expect that the master military strategist who checkmated my plans would be such a stunner. Louis's words put Alicia on high alert. 5 seconds in and she could already sense the lethal aura radiating off him. Then, Louis reached out his hand, inviting her to the dance floor. Alicia was trapped. This was a total nightmare scenario. Then Louis extended a hand, silently inviting her to the dance floor. Alicia froze. Talk about being put on the spot. She was totally cornered. Rejecting a dance invitation without a solid excuse was social suicide. Plus, this guy was the face of the Franco family tonight. Alicia let out a shaky breath, feeling cornered. She was silently praying for a miracle, anyone to jump in and stop this train wreck. Just as her fingers reluctantly grazed, his Link's voice sliced through the noise. He ordered Louis to let her go immediately. But Louis didn't flinch. He just smirked, hitting Link with a casual greeting. Long time no see, Your Highness. Not since the Dark Continent. 2 years ago, right? Wait. Your Highness doesn't fit anymore. Let's use your war title. The Hollow King. Link completely ignored the taunt eyes locked on Louis's grip. I said let go. Louis didn't get mad. He just flashed a toxic smile. Give me one good reason why I should. Is asking a pretty lady to dance a crime in Puria? You must be blind. She clearly doesn't want to be near you. That wiped the smirk off Louis's face. He glanced at Alicia and finally noticed the sheer terror in her eyes. He released her instantly, dropping to one knee like a perfect gentleman. My apologies. I'll step back. But next time we meet, I'm claiming that dance. I'll be counting down the days. Watching him walk away felt like dodging a bullet. Alicia bowed deep to Link, genuinely grateful that guy gave her the creeps. Link waved off her thanks, refusing to take credit. Don't get ideas. I just hate his face. So save your gratitude. Alicia stood there, perplexed. Sure, they had beef from the Dark Continent 2 years ago. And yeah, they were bitter rivals. But the Link from her past life wasn't this petty. Why the intense hate, Alicia had no clue. Link's beef with Louis wasn't just about old war stories. While she was lost in thought, Link silently held out his hand to her. The room went dead silent. Is that Prince Link, the guy who treats the dance floor like a minefield? Who is she? Marquis Roland's daughter, I think. They started moving and the chemistry was instant. They were so in sync, people whispered they must have practiced for weeks. Could she be the mystery fiancé everyone's talking about? In her past life, Alicia fought for every step. She had to. Their first dance back then was a total disaster. She couldn't keep up, and the court ate her alive for it. She swore she'd never be that clumsy again, but a wave of dizziness hit her. Whatever. This was it. Her last dance with His Highness. She had to make it perfect. But her body betrayed her. Her vision blurred, she missed a step, and gravity took over. You know the drill. Link swooped in, catching her before she hit the marble. He saw how pale she was. He ripped off his glove and pressed his bare palm to her forehead. The crowd gasped. Girls were swooning left and right. So romantic. Meanwhile, Link felt the burning heat radiating from her skin. Guilt hit him like a truck. If he knew she was sick, he never would have dragged her onto the floor. He immediately whisked her away to a luxury suite, ordering her to rest. Alicia tried to protest. This was the royal VIP lounge, she wasn't supposed to be here. Link wasn't asking. He gave her a look that said sit down, and she complied. The plush sofa was instant relief. Sleep, he commanded. If anyone asks, tell them you're with me. She thanked him, but her mind was racing. What is up with him today? In her memories, this guy despised her. He used to look at her with pure loathing. Now he's playing nurse. What's his angle? She couldn't hold it back. Your Highness, don't you hate me? Link looked genuinely confused. Alicia started rambling, trying to explain. Link got the gist, but put his walls back up. I just feel bad about the dance thing, he lied. Don't overthink it. Since he put it that way, she dropped it. Then a curveball. You hungry? How about some strawberry cake? Alicia froze. How did he know you don't like it? No, I love it. Eat, then sleep. I've got time before the speech. Thank you, Your Highness. Forget it. Just get better. Link walked out, leaving Alicia in a daze. She was always sick in her past life too, but he never gave a damn before. This was new. Staring at the table full of treats, she grinned like a kid on Christmas. Suddenly, the maid nearby, he dropped the info that this cake's creator was poached straight from Via Bakery by a certain prince, which explained that nostalgic flavor hitting her tongue. Talk about a major flex now. Only royalty gets to savor these treats. What Alicia didn't realize, Link pulled this entire power move just for her. Flashback to when Link went undercover to get medical help from Alicia. He clocked that she was absolutely obsessed with pastries from that specific shop. So he literally hired their head chef away. Alicia was bummed, thinking her favorite snack was gone forever, but the reality was way sweeter. Link was playing the long game, fantasizing about her eating these cakes every single day once they got hitched. And faced with Link's custom dessert spread, Alicia went full goblin mode and devoured everything. Probably due to the sugar crash, she started fading fast and passed out right there on the sofa, sleeping like a log until an elderly lady nudged her awake. The woman warned her it was almost time for His Majesty to drop the ceremonial speech. While stammering out a thank you, Alicia suddenly realized who she was talking to. That was the king's sister. Panic mode activated. Alicia hurriedly bowed to pay her respects and dropped her name. The Duchess was practically glowing with kindness, telling Alicia to chill with the formalities. But as they walked toward the banquet hall, Alicia's medical eye caught something disturbing. The woman's steps were stiff and jerky, classic signs of Parkinson's disease. Connecting the dots with her past life memories, she remembered this Duchess had tragically died from swallowing complications caused by that exact condition. It was a terminal illness, with zero cure even back on Earth. If she had a sudden choking episode, she'd need CPR within 2 minutes or it was game over. Being alone during an attack would be a death sentence. Slumping back into her seat at the banquet, Alicia let out a sigh of relief. Once this speech was wrapped up, she could finally bounce and crash at home. She was fighting a losing battle against dizziness and a nasty cold while the king spoke. She tried to tough it out, but the emperor's next sentence hit her like a bucket of ice water, killing her drowsiness instantly. Before we wrap this party up, I've got one more thing to address. It concerns Crown Prince Link's future bride. However, there's a small technicality I overlooked. The Crown Prince's fiancé hasn't had her coming-of-age ceremony yet. Even though getting engaged before the ceremony isn't technically against the rules, I made a promise to that young lady to keep it under wraps until she's officially of age. Therefore, the engagement press conference is postponed until after Miss Rowland's big day. Alicia froze. Did His Majesty just name-drop her? With every single pair of eyes in the room locking onto her, Alicia felt her brain short-circuiting. He claims he's postponing the announcement, but saying that in front of a massive crowd. Sure, he didn't technically break the bet, but he basically just shouted to the world that she belongs to Link. That night was rough. Alicia suffered through a PTSD nightmare, replaying the moment Link executed her in her previous life. Even knowing it was a dream, she woke up shaking. Seeing the morning paper plastered with headlines about her engagement to Link, Alicia's expression darkened. Her gentle vibe was totally rewriting the narrative. Everyone thought she was some spoiled brat, but she was proving them wrong. Suddenly, she bumped into the Duchess again. After the previous day's encounter, the aunt had figured out that Alicia was her future niece-in-law. I'm thrilled we're going to be family. Please take care of Link. You'll find out he's actually a total softie. Softie, His Highness. You have no idea how cute and obedient he was as a kid. I still see that little boy hiding behind my skirts, even if he tries to look all serious and tough now. Mid-sentence, the Duchess took a sip of wine and immediately spiraled into a violent coughing fit. Her Parkinson's was acting up, causing major swallowing issues. Alicia watched with intense worry, wondering how to subtly teach her some preventative measures without blowing her cover. The Duchess was well aware of her failing body, but knowing the tragic future awaiting this woman, Alicia couldn't just stand there and do nothing. She made up her mind right then. She was going to intervene and help the Duchess fight this disease. She could feel the clock ticking, a gut feeling that she wouldn't live to see them walk down the aisle, so she was desperate for just one more conversation with Alicia. But her body betrayed her before she could finish. Gasping for air, she sent Alicia on a mission: find His Majesty immediately. He had a message that couldn't wait. When Alicia stormed into the palace, the Emperor wasn't interested in emergencies. First priority, brew me a cup of tea, he demanded. Apparently, he'd been obsessed with that flavor ever since his first sip. Only after his cravings were satisfied did he let her speak. Alicia didn't beat around the bush. Your Majesty, if I may be so bold, I have a question. Speak. Is our bet actually still on? We're not even close to the 6-month deadline, yet he'd already dropped her name publicly at the banquet, like it was a done deal. That public reveal had Alicia spiraling, thinking the wager was void. And if the bet was dead in the water, then the last 2 months of blood, sweat, and tears were totally meaningless. Ha, that's what you're worried about. My word is absolute law. Chill out, until the engagement ring is physically on a finger. The whole thing can be scrapped at a moment's notice. But doesn't that tarnish your royal dignity? My reputation can take the hit. I see you're still stressing over the win condition. You're pretty confident you can pull this off. He leaned in closer. Let's be clear. To win, you have to prove that wielding a scalpel has more value than wearing the Empress's crown. But honestly, I don't know what kind of medical miracle could possibly outweigh the power of the mother of the nation, Alicia. Read between the lines instantly. To win, she couldn't just be a good doctor. She had to be legendary. Merely practicing medicine wasn't going to cut it. Then the room went quiet, and the Emperor dropped the act to reveal his true motive. He wanted Alicia in the royal family to balance out Link's flaws. She was the missing piece. And selfishly, he wanted that father-daughter bond with her. That's why he outed her at the banquet. It was a calculated power play. The Emperor was banking on Alicia folding, quitting the bet, and giving up her silly dreams of med school. Hearing this, Alicia could feel the genuine warmth he had for her, but the trauma of her past life was a screaming warning siren. She couldn't drag herself back into that toxic palace life. She opened her mouth to refuse, but sudden screams erupted from outside. Panic in the banquet hall. Someone was down. It was the Duchess they had just left moments ago. Alicia didn't think she bolted down the stairs, heart pounding in her ears. Even before she left, she had been low-key worried about the Duchess's health, but she didn't expect to collapse this fast. The Duchess was battling Parkinson's. A piece of banquet food had lodged in her throat. Her airway was totally blocked and she'd passed out from oxygen deprivation. Alicia grabbed her from behind, slamming her fist into the diaphragm, trying to force the air out with the Heimlich maneuver. It wasn't working. The blockage was solid. Alicia's eyes locked onto a steak knife and a hollow bamboo straw nearby. But using a weapon on royalty, that's a one-way ticket to an execution for regicide. But right now, a life was fading. She shut down her fear. As Alicia pressed the blade against the Duchess's throat, the royal guards drew their weapons, screaming at her to freeze. Back off, I'm saving her life. Just wait, Alicia roared. Her intensity was so terrifying that the entire hall went dead silent. This was it. No room for error. Alicia entered the surgeon's zone. She had to perform a cricothyrotomy, a tiny incision right into the airway. She had to navigate blindly without nicking a major artery or nerve. 1 millimeter off and the Duchess bleeds out instantly. Asterisk slice. Asterisk perfect execution. She jammed the bamboo tube into the incision and a gasp of air filled the Duchess's lungs. She was breathing, but hearing the heavy boots stomping behind her, Alicia knew the bill was coming due. In this primitive world, a tracheotomy looks exactly like a throat slitting. To the uneducated crowd, Alicia had just tried to murder a duchess. A red guard pressed cold steel against her neck, barking at her to come quietly. Alicia didn't resist. She surrendered, her only demand being that a court physician disinfect the wound immediately. They hauled her away, but not to a dungeon. They took her to the Villainess Palace, a luxury holding cell reserved strictly for royalty. Irony check, the Emperor already considered her family. Immediately, the Emperor assembled a squad of elite physicians to analyze the attack. The deal: if the surgery was legit, she walks free with a reward. But if they find a single flaw, the bet is void and she's banned from the hospital forever. The Emperor was playing 4D chess here. He was convinced that a frantic first aid attempt would be sloppy. He wanted to find a mistake, force her to quit medicine, and trap her in the palace. If his plan worked, he'd secure the perfect daughter-in-law and a lifetime supply of that delicious tea. The guy was actually terrifyingly sharp. Scene shift. We're at the Bayuan Palace, where Alicia is finally catching some heavy Z's in her bed. But she isn't alone. Prince Link is standing right there, looming over her. The guy was so worried about Alicia, he actually ghosted into the Bayuan Palace using his powers just to check on her. Staring down at her sleeping face, Link felt this crushing mix of pity and frustration. Like, how can she gamble with her own life to save others without giving a damn about the fallout? Right then, sleeping, Alicia lets out a sob, mumbling over and over, "Do not die." She's clearly trapped in a living nightmare. Seeing this breaks him. Link gently wipes the tears from the corners of her eyes, even though he has no clue what horrors she's dreaming about. Watching Alicia's pained expression, Link feels his own heart get squeezed. Meanwhile, out in the blurry night, a blonde man is perched up in the tree branches, and he definitely caught the entire scene of Link sneaking into the palace. Haven't seen my brother pop an illusion spell in ages. I thought he was just a dense block of wood with zero romantic game. Didn't expect him to have this side. Fast forward to the next morning, Ryan and Grace show up looking stressed. Grace is a total chatterbox. The second she spots Alicia, she starts yapping nonstop, chewing Alicia out for pulling such a reckless stunt without thinking about the blowback. But once Grace finishes her rant, Ryan steps up. He slams the medical books Alicia asked for onto the table. His vibe is totally different from Grace's. He knows she did it to save the Duchess. It was dangerous, sure, but she nailed it. For the first time ever, Ryan actually praises her. This leaves Alicia completely shook. 2 days later, Graham and Viscount Ben roll up to the palace. The Emperor had ordered them to investigate Alicia's surgery. Looks like the verdict is in. The Emperor looks barely able to hide his smirk finally. He has the ammo to ban Alicia from studying medicine forever. He asks, "So what kind of mess did Miss Rowland make with her first aid?" But Viscount Ben's answer hits him like a bucket of ice water, instantly killing the Emperor's vibe. Viscount Ben declares, "This rescue was practically flawless. Honestly, you could call it a miracle. If Miss Rowland hadn't moved when she did, the Duchess would be in a casket right now. Her survival is 100% due to Miss Rowland." Hearing this, the Emperor gets frustrated and snaps back. "Slicing open a neck is called perfect. Isn't that insanely dangerous?" Viscount Ben fires back. "That is exactly why it is a miracle. A theory existed if the trachea is blocked. You can cut the throat to create an airway. But because the surgery is so high risk, nobody had the guts to try it. Until now. Miss Rowland just executed a perfect demonstration for everyone. She is a total trailblazer." Even so, the Emperor refuses to fold. He figures this surgery was just dumb luck. "We thought that too, until we saw the receipts." Miss Rowland broke down her entire method in this report. You can tell she completely understands the anatomy connecting the neck and trachea. That is why she picked the absolute safest spot to cut. She only sliced what was necessary. I have no idea how a girl that young pulled this off. Viscount Ben insists that for the sake of medical progress, they need to publish Alicia's report as an academic paper. Watching his scheme crumble, the Emperor is totally depressed. Alicia's surgery wasn't just error-free, it's about to be world-famous. So now Alicia is going to be a medical celebrity, plus she saved a royal. He's practically forced to give her the Royal Rose Medal. With that kind of clout, she won't just be Miss Alicia, she'll be Dame Rowland. And the newspapers, they are going to eat up this headline. Realizing the daughter-in-law he almost secured is slipping through his fingers, the Emperor is fuming. Suddenly, Viscount Ben and Graham drop another request. They want a face-to-face meeting with this genius Miss Rowland. Neither of them realizes Miss Rowland is actually Alicia. Her secret identity is about to get blown wide open. Back at Bayuan Palace, Alicia is locked in studying those medical books Ryan brought her. The medical license exam is right around the corner, so she has to grind. Right at that moment, someone sneaks up behind her and asks in a super casual tone, "What you reading there, sister-in-law?" Alicia jumps out of her skin and spins around, demanding to know who the heck this guy is. He introduces himself as Mihail, Link's brother. He claims that being stuck together in Bayuan Palace is fate, so he came to say hey to his future sis. After the intro, Mihail looks at her, waiting for the drama. When she sees her future husband's political rival, how is she gonna react? Shock, a stank face, fake nice. But instead, he sees tears streaming down Alicia's face. Mihail froze, totally blindsided. What was her deal? In her past life, this guy wasn't just royalty. He was Alicia's only real ride or die. So naturally, reuniting with her bestie made Alicia lose all chill. She snatched Mihail's hand, chanting his nickname like a prayer mirror. The third prince was shook. Confused, absolutely. He and his future sister-in-law were basically strangers who'd only seen each other from afar. So why was she looking at him with eyes full of devastating heartbreak? It looked like he'd betrayed her, but she wasn't even on his dating radar. Seeing Mihail's face twist in suspicion, Alicia snapped out of it. Realizing she was acting crazy, she frantically backpedaled and introduced herself properly as Alicia. Mihail's mission was just a quick hello, and with that box checked, he dipped. But boredom is a powerful motivator. Over the next few days, Mihail kept crashing Alicia's solitude, and slowly, the awkward vibes turned into a genuine bond. "You're reading these massive tomes. Are you serious about the doctor thing?" he asked. "Absolutely. Once I crush the licensing exam, I'm a doctor. And marriage, I'm not getting engaged to your brother. That rumor is fake news. No engagement, no wedding. So stop calling me sister-in-law. I'm Alicia. Or Allie. Take your pick." Hearing about her exam prep sparked a memory for Mihail, some old Eastern superstition about eating sweets for luck before a big test. He tossed a piece of candy he was holding over to Alicia. He claimed he snagged it during training. Alicia knew he was straight up lying, but she didn't call him out on it. His training was actually just him running away from home. He'd toured multiple countries and even ghosted the Empire for 3 years in the Dark Continent, nearly giving the Emperor a heart attack on multiple occasions. As the candy dissolved in her mouth, nostalgia hit Alicia hard. It tasted just like the sweets she used to eat before exams back on Earth. Then, Mihail dropped a better idea: wine. He'd swiped a bottle of his dad's private reserve. He meant to hoard it for himself. But seeing Alicia down in the dumps, he decided to pop the cork early for a little pre-celebration. "Is this okay? We are technically grounded," Alicia pointed out. "There's no law saying prisoners can't party," he countered. "But I haven't even had my coming-of-age ceremony yet. Even more reason to drink now. You'll have to drink buckets that day anyway, and you're only a few months away from adulthood. Relax, it's fine." Alicia knew he was being stubborn, but honestly, she had zero reasons to say no, so she agreed. By nightfall, right in front of the guards, Mihail laid out a gourmet feast, fit for a king, leaving Alicia completely floored. "Is this really okay?" The guards stood there like statues, pretending they saw nothing. Clearly, they were used to the third prince's chaos. I mean, wasn't stealing ceremonial wine from the birthday banquet exactly why he was locked up in here? When the guard pointed out the irony, Mihail got defensive. "The wine was calling to me, okay." Seeing His Highness acting just as carefree as she remembered, a warm, comforting smile spread across Alicia's face. But then, the memory of Mihail's death in the first timeline flashed through her mind, and her mood instantly crashed. The only way to save him was to force him out of the race for the throne. But how could she convince him to drop out? Thinking back to their final moment in her past life, Alicia frowned deeply. When Mir spoke to her that last time, she missed the end of his sentence. What was he trying to tell her? Seeing her spiral, Mihail asked what was wrong. Alicia claimed she was just a lightweight with alcohol, but Mihail wasn't buying it. How could a girl who hasn't even had her debutante ball look that tragic? She had the eyes of someone who'd lived 1,000 lifetimes. Why the obsession with being a doctor? A noble lady doesn't need to grind this hard. And why do you study swordsmanship? She countered. You have superpowers. You don't need a blade. Because I love it, he shrugged. Well, I love healing people. If I can't be a doctor, my soul will rot like a bird in a cage. Mihail finally understood. As a free spirit who hated being tied down, Alicia's fiercely independent streak and drive earned his total respect. The dinner ended with Alicia absolutely wasted. Mihail carried her back to her room. Even though he figured his dad, the Emperor, would win their bet, he secretly rooted for Alicia to chase her dream. If I were my brother, he thought I would definitely cherish her. After tucking her in, Mihail slipped out. He was breaking out of Baiyuan Palace tomorrow morning to resume his life on the run, figuring he probably wouldn't see Alicia for a long time. He glanced back and whispered a silent goodbye. In her past life on Earth, Alicia could drink like a fish. But now, 3 glasses and she was out cold. The next morning, her head was pounding. Suddenly, the guard appeared. The attendant announced they had company. Alicia swung the door open, only to freeze. Standing right there were Graham, Viscount, Ben, and the hospital director. The 3 men looked totally baffled. You could practically see the thought bubbles above their heads. Did we walk into the wrong room? And why was the rookie apprentice Laura hanging out in the palace? Wait. Joan Alicia realized the jig was up. She couldn't hide her identity anymore. She dropped a polite curtsy to apologize for the deception. "I'm sorry, everyone. I am actually Alicia of the Roland family." Viscount Ben's face instantly relaxed. Suddenly, the uncanny resemblance made total sense. The director, however, he looked like he was about to have a heart attack. Regret washed over him. If he'd known she was a high-ranking noble, he would have made her his personal protege. Now he was frantically replaying every interaction, terrified he'd offended her. Alicia let out a silent, tired sigh. This awkward sucking up phase. This was exactly why she went undercover in the first place. Then she caught Graham's expression. It was complicated. Alicia made a mental note she needed to pull him aside and apologize properly later. But right now, business first. The trio had 2 missions: grill Alicia about that groundbreaking tracheotomy and deliver the verdict on her trial. The news was huge. Not only was Alicia declared 100% innocent, but the royal family was going all out. They were awarding her the Royal Rose Medal and knighting her as an honorary knight. Congratulations, Lady Roland. You are the first woman in the history of the Empire to receive the Royal Rose. History made. Later, when Alicia returned home, another VIP guest arrived. The Duchess Avery's husband came personally. The man was shaking with gratitude. Without Alicia's quick thinking, death would have torn him and his wife apart. He offered her a massive, sparkling gemstone as thanks. Alicia shook her head, pushing it back. I only did my duty as a doctor. I can't accept this. If you don't take it, I'm not leaving. It became a stubborn standoff, neither side backing down for ages. Finally, Alicia's resolve crumbled. The Duke swore he'd never forget this debt. As long as she needed anything, the House of Aver would unleash its full power to assist her. You are destined to be an incredible physician, he declared. If anyone in my family ever falls ill, I pray we can be under your care. The honor is mine, Lord Aver. Meanwhile, outside the mansion walls, the press was going crazy. Headlines screamed, Future Crown Princess Saves Duchess Awarded Royal Rose Medal. The story was everywhere. The public couldn't stop hyping her up, but reading the wildly exaggerated articles, Alicia felt a headache coming on. She frowned at the spin. They were painting her grueling hospital internship as some cute volunteer service preparation for becoming crown princess. Fast forward to the award ceremony. Alicia stood there looking regal, but her mind was completely elsewhere. Why? Because the medical license exam was only 2 days away. She should be home hitting the books, not playing dress-up. The timing was suspicious. Too coincidental. Alicia couldn't help but wonder if the crafty old emperor planned this distraction on purpose to sabotage her study time. The ceremony commenced. The emperor placed the heavy Royal Rose Medal into Alicia's hands and announced her new title to the world, Honorary Knight. Thunderous applause erupted, filling the grand hall. 2 days later. Reality check. Alicia sat in the exam hall, and despite the glory, her stomach was doing flips. In her past life on Earth, she wasn't royalty. She was an orphan who knew the bitter taste of poverty all too well. Survival meant studying until her eyes bled. That was her only way out. She wasn't a natural-born genius. Every win she ever had was built on blood, sweat, and sheer grit. Staring at a piece of candy in her hand, her mind drifted to Mihail. In this life, will I get to call him Mir again, just as she got lost in the memory? The proctor marched in. The examination officially begins now. As the answer sheets were handed out, a collective gasp swept the room. Instead of the usual short answer questions, they were facing a full-blown simulated patient diagnosis. The difficulty level just spiked to impossible. Students around her started hyperventilating, panic mode activated. They were cooked, done for. But Alicia, after a split second of hesitation, she locked in. She knew the Emperor was going to troll her with a hard test, but this was next level. The old man really pulled out all the stops to block her path. But here's the irony: he messed up. These complex scenarios were exactly what she specialized in back on Earth. For 8 straight hours, Alicia's pen flew across the paper. Finally, she reached the end. Yet she didn't look triumphant. Why? Because she had to solve many problems using modern Earth medical theories. Theories that were scientifically unproven in this magical world. If the graders decided her answers were false, her medical career was dead in the water. Sure, she wasn't the demon girl anymore, and the chance of a bad ending was low. But the trauma of her past death still lingered. The phantom pain made her hold a grudge against this whole system. That fear was exactly why she fought so hard against the engagement. Thinking about it made her hungry. She'd kill for a table full of desserts right now. Suddenly, a familiar voice cut through her thoughts. Mr. Rania, what are you doing at the medical institute? It was Link. Is something wrong? Silence. Then, why I came to see you. Hearing his intention, Alicia's face heated up instantly. Link was here for 2 reasons. 1, he genuinely missed her, and 2, he had to play the part of Rania. Link dropped the big question. How did the exam go? The moment he brought it up, Alicia's expression darkened. She frowned, admitting straight up that she bombed it. Seeing Alicia, this defeated Link was confused. Wait, didn't she want times to avoid marrying him? Confused but determined, Link sighed and decided to whisk Alicia away, to lift her spirits. You mentioned liking strawberry cake, right? Mango pudding, banana tart. I'm buying whatever you want. Link ordered the driver to take them to the city's finest dessert spot, but Alicia hesitated. It was too far. She didn't want to waste his time. Somewhere close is fine, she insisted. She felt guilty, but Link wasn't taking no for an answer. Before she knew it, she was dazed following him into the carriage. Once seated, Alicia stole a secret glance at Link. Asterisk. Lord Rania really is gorgeous. Asterisk. They sat side by side, drifting quietly toward their destination. I haven't known him long, but even when we're both silent, it's not awkward. It felt like a soul connection from a past life. Why did this feel so right? Arriving at the cafe, the massive display of cakes nearly knocked Alicia out. Just one. I've got more cash than you can imagine. Order the whole menu. Alicia couldn't help but giggle at Lord Rania's joke. He kept such a serious face while saying it. She took a bite. And it was heaven. The flavor rivaled the famous Via Bakery. watching Alicia bliss out on the food. Link was totally captivated, but throwing money at snacks wasn't enough. He needed to know what truly made her tick. Who could he ask for intel thinking of Ion Alicia's older brother Link? Shook his head. Unreliable. The guy was too blunt, just like Link himself. What about Grace, the second brother? He seemed like a solid option, but they weren't close. Link realized he'd need to invent a fake state affairs meeting just to grill him, seeing Link deep in strategy mode. Alicia's curiosity piqued. Asterisk. What is going on in his head times? On the walk back, a poster for a romantic play grabbed Alicia's attention, stopping her in her tracks. You want to see that show, let's go. No need, Lord Rania. Don't do it just for me. I want to see it too. Actually, I want to see it times. With you, asterisk. Link's line, I want to see it with you, froze Alicia cold, her brain shutting down for a second. Asterisk. With me, does he like me? Asterisk. Asterisk, impossible. We only met at the hospital. Asterisk, Alicia's heart hammered against her ribs, her face burning red. While she was spiraling, Link had already secured the tickets and extended a hand toward Alicia, pure gentleman vibes. Watching this, a massive wave of déjà vu hit Alicia, exactly like when His Highness the Prince asked her to dance. Time melted away, and a crescent moon climbed silently into the night sky. The servant asked Link if he had fun. Link hesitated, struggling to put it into words, but the truth was clear. As long as he was with Alicia, anything they did made him happy. This was the first time Link felt this light since the tragedy in his childhood. But were these feelings his, or did they belong to Renia? Suddenly, the servant dropped a reality check. He'd been abusing the illusion magic lately. Link checked the transformation stone and saw it was dull, fading. If he burned out the stone, the disguise would fail. No illusion meant no seeing Alicia. The stakes just skyrocketed. Several days drifted by. The old emperor was vibing today because the exam results were finally dropping. He looked smug, convinced he'd won the bet against Alicia. Sure, it was rigged against the other students, but if it forced Alicia to become a princess, who cared about a few obstacles? While the emperor gloated, a servant rushed in with an update from the medical institute. But the news was a total curveball. At the office, the veteran doctors were demanding a retest. The pass rate wasn't just low, it was non-existent. Almost everyone failed. Now the real issue there was exactly one person who crushed every question, offering revolutionary answers no doctor had ever imagined. Take the gastrectomy procedure, for instance. It was still basically uncharted territory, insanely complex, and notorious for its brutal side effects. But here is the kicker. If they followed the exact technique laid out in that answer key, they could bypass every single one of those nasty complications. Clean sweep. We are talking about medical dilemmas that have stumped top experts in the field for ages.